Hey, what's up? I'd like to introduce a new series to my YouTube channel, and that's budget guitar amps that are sick. The only credential here is that it's something that's under $350 used, and it's sick. Can you get a cool tone out of it? That's all that matters. And is it cheap? Cheap meaning $350. Okay, let's get right into it. Today is an amp that is kind of a hidden gem. This is the Line 6 Spider Valve HD100, a 100 watt tube head. As you can see, there's also a Bogner symbol on there. Bogner helped design this amp. I'm not going to tell you all the specs. This amp is discontinued, however, but you can find these used for like $250, $300. It's under $350, so that's really all that matters here. This thing does a lot. Don't be afraid of the fact that it says Line 6 Spider on it. You can do a lot with it. Let's just get a rundown of the whole tone. So I'm using my LTD M400. It has Seymour Duncan JB59 set up in there. That's going into a DI box. The DI box is then being sent to the interface through there into the blues driver. That's then going into the amp. Then from the amp, it's going out into a 2-Notes Torpedo Live with the Spectre Digital Vintage 30 Impulse, the free one that they gave out last Christmas. Really sick impulse. I wanted to use an IR that was free and openly available. So 100 watt tube head. It has 4 channels, as you can see. I made a couple channels on here. Now, it does a lot, but I really use it for like one thing. And it's kind of this hybrid solid state tube head thing going on that's really cool and unique. You know, it has a pretty decent clean tone too. You can get a lot of different tones out of this thing. There's also multiple banks, and then when you bank up or down, there's multiple presets left and right. So you could save a ton of different tones on this thing. It's definitely not a one-trick pony. I just happen to be using it that way. I want to mention the controls that you're seeing right now. That's not accurate to the tone you're about to hear, okay? So I saved this tone a while ago. I've actually used this tone on a bunch of different swolas, and I have some different overdrive pedals there too, as you can see. I settled on the blues driver being like the tone that I like with this setup, so I want you to hear that first, but I am going to go and switch up the overdrive and just see what happens. You know, I'm curious as well. And one thing I haven't tried yet, which I'm very excited to try, is I'm going to use the metal zone as a boost. Anyway, let's get to the tones. So this is going to be the guitar tone that I use in this week's Swola video. So you'll get to get a bit more of an in-depth look at the guitar tone. So if you watched episode 6 of Pedalboard Preamp, that's the bass tone that I'm using this week. If you're curious on the bass tone, and this is going to be the guitar tone. You can hear it's tight and punchy. Kind of has a Marshall thing going on, but it's not quite a Marshall. Kind of reminds me of like the older like Ampeg solid state amps a little bit. A little bit more gain on there. Yeah, I mean, it's just cool. All right, so I'm going to go over there. I'm going to disengage the blues driver. I just want you to hear it without the boost, so you just hear this tone by itself. Okay, here we go. Okay, and engaged. Just just takes it over the top a little bit more. Great pedal. Just because it says blues on it doesn't mean you can't use it for metal. That also is kind of a hidden gem. The blues driver does offer something different, so definitely don't sleep on that. This is a great starting point, and then if I wanted to make a change, I would probably change the IR rather than change this tone. I like where the tone's at. If I was to switch the IR, I would get a much bigger difference than if I was to just change up the EQ on the amp. I've demoed that in other videos. I'm not about to do that right now. I've used it at rehearsal without the IR, just into a cabinet, and that I didn't really like. That's kind of up to you. I don't recommend doing it that way. I recommend going into an IR. Unless you have a really sick cabinet, that might work for you. The other option here would be like, if you have a modeler, you could plug a modeler into the back and just use the power section, so you have a 100-watt power amp. So this is a great way to connect your modeler to your cabinet. Turn off your cab sim and then run that into the back of the Line 6 and then that into your cabinet. That would sound sweet. I've actually done that before, and that's a lot of fun too. You know, like I said, it's a $300 amp, so it's a good deal. 100-watt amp. Definitely something that I wouldn't overlook. If you are looking for something that's loud that can like hang with a drummer, this is it right here. It really is going to come down to having a good IR with this amp. And when you do that, you'll get a sweet tone. It's definitely a hybrid amp, and that's cool. If you're looking for a unique tone, this could be it. Let's see how the Tube Screamer sounds. All right, let's hear it with the Tube Screamer off. Definitely a bit chunkier. This could be cool if you're going for like something a little slower, a little bit like more like open and sludgy kind of sound. I like the Tube Screamer on there too. Definitely a cool pedal. Let's check out the Super Overdrive now. This one doesn't have as much of that like shrill high end thing going on with the other ones. I feel like it's dialed down just a little bit. Could also be because where I have the tone control. I do like the blues driver. I have it also, if you didn't notice, I have it, the volume or the level on the blues driver, it's at noon, whereas on the Super Overdrive, it's all the way up. If you watch some of my other episodes on like my pedal board preamp episodes on overdrive pedals, there's more on that, but the blues driver is pretty loud. Definitely louder than my other pedals. Another cool pedal right here. Really like this Super Overdrive in front of my Axe Effects. I like running these tests. I'm going to go back and listen, and who knows, I might hear something that I didn't hear in the room. Let's try the Metal Zone as a boost. So here we go. Okay, definitely fizzy. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to adjust some things. I can already tell the level's definitely too high. This is interesting. I like how the Metal Zone offers more control over your EQ than your standard overdrive pedal, or Boss overdrive pedal, I should say. So that's cool. I like being able to shape that stuff. I do that in the Axe effects also. It seems to be real quiet now. So I have the volume fully on right now. Guitar's wide open. Like I mentioned before, I am using the Spectre Digital sidechain gate with the, I actually don't know if I said that, but I have that DI box that's being sent to the interface on a separate channel. That channel is being routed to the sidechain gate so that my tone is being gated with the DI tone and not the tone with all the distortion on it. Okay, works a lot better that way. Highly recommend the Spectre Digital gate. Not sponsored or anything. It's a lifesaver, and Glenn's a good dude, even though he yells a lot. Like I said, this is the first time I ever tried using this as a boost. I'm impressed, actually. Like if I was going for like an older Metal Zone kind of sound, like going into an amp, not necessarily using it like a Metal Zone into an IR like I did in pedalboard preamp, but running it in front of an amp like everyone did back in the day. I think this might be the best way to do that. Turn the distortion all the way off and then bring the level down to a point where it's not feeding back like crazy so it's quiet, right? And you're still getting like the qualities of it, but it's not completely taking over the tone. And like that little bit of fizz in there, I would probably take out with an EQ, after the fact. Low pass somewhere around like 6K and just kind of go in towards like 5K until you get that fizz out and it's sitting right in the mix. It's pretty cool. That little bit of high-end fizz too might help in a scenario where you're just like riffing out. However, one thing you will notice when you start cutting that fizz out, you start to rely on that like top end fizziness. Remove that, and then all of a sudden you realize that it'll seem like it's harder to play because you have to play tighter, because that fizz kind of lets you be a little sloppier and lets you kind of get away with it. As soon as you remove that, the mistakes become a little bit more audible, so it forces you to play tighter. I actually recommend on removing the fizz. In this case, I would do that in the DAW. Let's switch over to standard real quick and hear that. Okay, I never really considered this as a boost pedal, but I think it's pretty cool. Definitely different from the other two, or other three. Okay, so I'm gonna switch back to the blues driver because I feel like I didn't play that one enough for you to really hear it. So let's do that real quick. Interesting. So now the blues driver sounds different to me because I checked out those other ones. I actually think I like the super overdrive the most, which doesn't surprise me because I like that the most going through my Axe effects. Yeah, there's just a little bit too much fizz going on now. I might take that out of the tone. I'm just gonna do a quick sweep of the frequency so you can hear it. Okay, quick wrap up to this video. I didn't show nearly enough or nearly the amount of what it can actually do. Like it's a 4-channel, 100-watt tube head. For me, it does the old school death metal thing, kind of like the Marshall valve state, but it's a little bit more modern, doing its own thing. You know, it's not quite a Marshall valve state, but it's in that realm. And it is cool. If you're looking for like a $300 tube head, this is probably one of the best options. One other thing I didn't mention is there's multiple Line 6 foot switches that work with this thing. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and check out Swola 130 to hear this tone and the bass tone from Pedalboard Preamp episode 6 in action. I'm really excited to see what happens with this like old school death metal tone and the Boss metalcore on bass guitar. Have a great day. Goodbye.